sisters, we've all turned up the radio to hear Brother Jimmy Lakey, from coast to coast and shore to shore. Now raise your voice. Oh, let us all, Jimmy Lakey, get out of bed. Jimmy Lakey, raise your voice. Jimmy Lakey, Lakey, hey, can't live without it with Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey.
Well, here I am. Nice to have you here. Running a few minutes late this morning, my friends. Technical difficulties. We apologize for that. We're still in technical difficulties. Evidently, the Rumble and the Twitter feed are not cooperating this morning. So if you are normal, we always tell you have a backup plan on where you're going to listen to the show. Always have that backup plan. Always know where you're going to listen just in case something happens in the world of the technology. And evidently this morning in the Rumble world, the world of technology is not going well. And also in the Twitter world, we will get all of these reconciled maybe during the course of the program. But if you're listening later in the day, I'm sure some of you are going to go, I can't find Lakey. Where's he at? And we always say, have a backup plan. Know where we're at. We're on the Rumble. We're on the YouTube. We're on the Twitter. We're on the Facebook. We're on all the streams out there. And then also know that if you do miss a program on occasion, you can go to our podcast version that uploads right after this main feast that we have here in the morning live. And you can listen to the audio portion only on the iPod, the iHeartRadio, Podbean. What do we have? The Spotify, all the thing, Apple Podcasts. So anyway, technical difficulty this morning. We apologize for the late start, and for all of our brothers and sisters that are normally watching on Twitter and or Rumble, we are working now behind the scenes feverishly to get those feeds back up and running, but it's not a glitch on our part. The Rumble error just says, keep trying again. We will get this problem fixed. So we're working on it, my friends. But in the meantime, for those of us who have gathered and have found our backup route to the auditorium where we're broadcasting from, nice to have you here. Pleasured, pleased, and thrilled. How was everybody's Mother's Day? You had a good Mother's Day. It was a wonderful Mother's Day for me. I had a cigar. It was kind of like every other day, and it was Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. Hope you had a great time. And now we have the march towards Father's Day. I was noticing there was nobody out yesterday. I was running a few errands, doing a couple of things, and a lot of places that are normally hustling and bustling were kind of quiet. And I kind of figured people treat Mother's Day. Most mothers want their kids and all of their brood home. They want them all in the nest. They want everybody hanging out there. And you would think that moms would want a day of peace and quiet, maybe a spa day. No, they want all their chickens back in the nest, in the coop. And so everybody's held hostage, right? They're held hostage there. Everybody's like, I'd like to be doing something else, but I'm held hostage today. So they're held hostage out there, and they not that you don't want to be with your mother all day, but you got people going, I'd love to go out and do something else right now, but no, I got to stay here. And so you all watched the Denver Nuggets yesterday, most inconsistent basketball team ever. That was something that maybe in Colorado you did for the Mother's Day festivities, but I hope you had a great time. The March towards Father's Day comes on, and I guarantee you that on Father's Day, we will not have the empty streets that I saw yesterday. Parking lots were empty, vacancy. It's just everybody's just had to stay home, and that's just what we do for our mothers on Mother's Day. But on Father's Day, everybody's going to be like, "Hey, Dad, we want you to grill we want you to cook us all steaks today. Why don't you run to the store, Dad, and buy the steaks, and we'll wait here with our feet up in the air." So Father's Day, Mother's Day treated totally different. We men don't get near the respect that those mamas get. And maybe we deserve it, maybe we don't, but I'm just saying Father's Day will be a totally different tone out there roaming around the planet and looking around on Father's Day. Again, I apologize if you're just joining us. We have a technical difficulty going on today on our Rumble feed and also our Twitter feed, our X feed. Both of them have gone down at the same time. Rumble says they may have it fixed in the course of the program, so we will try later on to reconnect on Rumble. But it is a great reminder, public service announcement, to make sure you always have a backup to listen to the program. Make sure you have a backup to listen to the show so that if your Rumble feed or your YouTube feed or we get banned on one of those platforms, make sure you know where to find us. And if nothing else fails, don't forget, every show that we do is loaded up as a podcast after the fact, and you can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, you can listen on iHeartRadio, Spotify, etc. So we're always out there, but make sure you have your backup and know where you can listen to the show just in case, like today, there is a glitch in the system, a glitch in the matrix, and things just don't go like they're supposed to. So anyway, a lot of folks will be joining us throughout the day. Numbers will be low initially. I can see the numbers in all of our rooms fluctuating as people are going, where do I find it? Where do I find it? Like punching buttons on a radio, trying to listen to your hit song. Well, here we are. Nice to have you here. Let's dive into some news. What do you say? It is Monday, the 12th day of May, year of our Lord 2025. Glad to have all of you here. Is there a deal with China? The markets are going crazy this morning. The Dow is opening up. Going to look like it's going to open up pretty positively. Because why? Well, because the Chinese and the Americans have announced that maybe there's a little bit of a deal going on here, and there's going to be a hiatus in the tariff war between the U.S. and China. There's going to be a 90-day pause, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average this morning is going absolutely crazy right now. At least last look, I haven't seen it in the last couple of seconds, but the U.S. and China on Monday are announcing a trade deal that, I've got all sorts of technical difficulties this morning. Everything's a technical difficulty this morning. I got audio 3 times going in my ear. U.S. and China on Monday announced the details of a trade agreement reached over the weekend in which the countries vastly scale back their massive reciprocating tariffs for the next 90 days. The U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer said the U.S. agreed to lower its 145% tariff rate on Chinese goods down to 30%, while China agreed to lower its tariff from 125 down to 10%, with each country dropping their respective rates by 115 percentage points. Greer and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced the tariff deal in Geneva following a weekend of negotiation with their Chinese counterparts. The consensus from both delegations this weekend is neither side wants a decoupling, and what had occurred, these very high tariffs, was an embargo, the equivalent of embargo, and neither side wants that. We want to trade, both sides do. The Chinese Commerce Ministry said that both sides agreed to cancel 91% tariffs on each other's goods and pause another 24% in tariffs for 90 days, resulting in a total reduction of 115 percentage points off the trade deal. So it looks like if Trump was using the tariff as a negotiating tool, it looks like it's working out quite well for him. And all the naysayers out there that said it would never, ever, ever work, it looks like we have some kind of at least temporary deal with China for the next 90 days. So congratulations to Scott Bessent and to the American consumer that you're going to still get this cheap Chinese crap. I would still advise America to, even though we have a trade deal, don't pat yourself on the hiney just yet. We still need to do a lot of decoupling. I know we don't want to totally decouple, is what they say. Well, that's fine, but we do need to decouple ourselves from China in some ways. Pharmaceuticals should not be produced in China. Nary ever, ever should we ever depend on the health, the well-being, and the treatment of disease in America to be produced in the Chinese factories by slaves. We just should not do that. We do need a decoupling from China when it comes to pharmaceuticals. We need a decoupling from China when it comes to other industries. Are there some industries that we might be able to interact with China on? Yes. But I don't like the phrase, we don't want a decoupling. Well, we do want a partial decoupling. We learned after COVID in 2020, when there were they called it defects in the supply chain. And we had empty shelves and things that weren't working out. And remember, the ports were backed up and they said, well, we just got a supply chain problem. What we learned during COVID is that we didn't have a supply chain problem. We had a lifeline problem. We had used China as a lifeline, not as a supply chain, and that needs to stop. So I'm happy that there could be some kind of a temporary deal. Glad that the stock market's going up, but I hope that there is a bigger picture and framing a perspective that when I read the phrase, we don't want to decouple with China. No, listen to me, friends. There are some areas in the world and in an industry that we need to totally decouple from China, and pharmaceuticals would be one of those big industries that I hope the Trump administration will stay on that. Speaking of, pharmaceuticals, Donald Trump, his administration is going to fight drug prices. He's signing an executive order. I'm trying to get the details of what the executive order says all morning. They only give the headline of it. Most of the news sources I've seen, he's signing an executive order that he says will lower drug prices immediately in America 30 to 80%. And what the executive order says is that the pharmaceutical companies cannot sell it to America more expensive than what they sell it to other rich or Western allies over there. So whatever you're selling your pharmaceutical goods is to the UK or France, we want the same price, and you're not allowed to sign anything else. You have to sell it to us the same way you do other wealthy Western countries. So that's period, the end. And it's an executive order. Now, how it's going to work, I think he tried this executive order in his first term, if my memory serves me correct, and it was struck down by the court. So it's going to be interesting to see how this was. Now, this would be one that it seems as if that Democrats would be behind. Democrats oftentimes want to Democrats oftentimes want to discuss lowering the drug prices. Here you have a Republican president doing it, and Democrats don't know what to do because we can't agree with Trump because what? They have the Trump derangement syndrome. So it's going to be interesting to watch, but an executive order is being signed. And he's, a matter of fact, at this very moment, while I speak live this morning, and many of you are having technical glitches like we were, Donald Trump is addressing the press right now, and he's talking about the executive order, how he wants to lower drug prices. And then once he gives enough food for fodder at that press conference, he's going to walk over to Marine One, fly out to catch on Air Force One, and he's flying to Saudi Arabia. So busy week for the president. Very, very, very busy week. But again, as this Chinese talk begins, and you'll hear the media talk about it today, the Dow is going up right now as it begins to open. You got to remember that we do actually want some decoupling with China. And even though this article I just read said we don't want decoupling, there are some areas that if our future is going to be bright, we must decouple from China. All right, speaking of decoupling, the Democrats can't seem to decouple themselves from stupidity and absolute craziness. Has anybody seen the video over the weekend that on Friday, Saturday, these Democrats decided that they were sanctimonious jackasses and that they were going to show up at an ICE detention facility in New Jersey? And they were going to be the inspectors. They're going to be the quality control inspectors. You know, they were elected to represent people in their district. That's all they were elected to do. They weren't elected to quality control ICE detention centers. They weren't elected to do prison inspections or automobile inspections or proctoral exams. They weren't elected. They were elected to represent the people in their district. But evidently, these bat crap crazy, possessed, insane Democrats decided to go storm the gates at an ICE detention facility. And a matter of fact, joining some of the members of Congress was a mayor, I believe, from Newark, New Jersey, somewhere in New Jersey. And the mayor decided to storm the gates, and the mayor got his ass arrested. They cuffed and stuffed him, and I hope they throw the book at him for all sorts of charges. I've read a list of them, and it's a endangerment and obstruction and all sorts of things. But I'm going to show you some audio and some video, I should say, because some of you are watching the show live. And again, if you're listening later on a podcast and you say, wow, I want to see that video, you can always go back and watch the audio later or the video later. And you can do that by going to our YouTube channel. Rumble normally is a very safe asset, but Rumble this morning is not working for us. So go to all the platforms, Facebook, Twitter, if we're up there, and you can just scroll through and you can see all the videos in the timeline because we're live on timelines all around the world right now. So let me show you some audio, some video. This is the craziness that ensued. That is the Democrat Party. And this is a spokesperson, I believe, for the Immigration Customs Enforcement saying we have video that it's not just this mayor from New Jersey that's about to get his butt arrested, but there's going to be more arrests probably coming and more prosecutions. Watch the video. This is an interview on CNN, and you will see the explanation that just because the mayor got arrested, that doesn't mean that's the only person that's going to get perp walked here real soon. And I say more power to him. Go ahead.
Let viewers know there will likely be more arrests coming. We actually have body camera footage of some of these members of Congress assaulting our ICE enforcement officers, including body slamming a female ICE officer. So we will be showing that to viewers very shortly.
You say a video of members of Congress body slamming ICE
That's correct.
officials?
That's correct, sir. It's disgusting.
Okay, and so if you have that video, are you suggesting that members of Congress will be arrested who were there yesterday?
This is an ongoing investigation, and that is definitely on the table.
Who has the video?
ICE does, and we will be releasing that very shortly.
Okay. Let's talk about
All right, so there you have it. He said ICE has a video. Now, I haven't seen that video. I want to show you another video that I do have. And if you can watch it in slow motion, there's a woman in red in the center of the video. And the woman is red, I believe, a big, large member of Congress. Probably takes up 2 seats. Sorry. Definitely an extender on the seatbelt there. Here we go. Watch this video. And this is the ICE people trying to keep these members of Congress out of a detention center, saying you don't have authority to be here. And by the way, they did say afterwards, ICE said if they just would have come and said, hey, can we look around? They would have said yes. But what these members did was when a bus was bringing in MS-13 gangbangers and Tren de Aragua gang members into the prison facility, I think they said 97% of the people actually already have felonies in America, and they're in the detention center. These members of Congress and these showboating mayors decided to storm the gates, and that's where the trouble began. You can't just run through a gate behind a bus. You have to be civilized. You have to have some decency. I know that's hard for anybody that identifies as a Democrat to understand what decency is all about, but you should look up the word and maybe you should practice it, because decency is not what's on display here. The lady just said that there's going to be more arrests coming. Watch this video that I'm about to play for you. Watch the person in red. And I don't think this is the body slam, but you will definitely see while the commentators on CNN are saying, well, the ICE people were shoving people. Watch the big woman in red and how she's the one doing the shoving. This is video from ICE, from the media. ICE is going to release some more video probably later today, but roll the tape, por favor.
No reason for it. Nothing happened other than the chaos that they created themselves. If anything, we were pushed and shoved and found in a very vulnerable situation for the 3 of us.
So this is one of the congresswomen jackasses has said, oh, look at that. That's a seatbelt extender right there, I tell you. That's a seatbelt. She's pushing her way through. Look, she's got her elbow up. The cops have her back turned to her, and she's going to start the pushing. And let me see if I can slow-mo this in a way. So we're going to slow-mo there. She's pushing him, and she throws the elbow. Then a camera gets in the way. And she's still pushing, yelling, screaming. If you watch it in slow-mo, you can see that she's doing a lot of aggression there. But here you have a member of Congress saying they created a situation. Watch it again.
There's no reason for it. Nothing happened other than the chaos that they created themselves. If anything, we were pushed and shoved and found in a very vulnerable situation. So
this is a lawmaker said the ICE created the chaos. Let me ask you, ma'am, I'm sure you're the sharpest tool in the shed, so let's just ask you. You probably have a very brilliant answer for us. If you follow into a prison behind a bus that's bringing prisoners, do you think that you are creating any moment of chaos and causing the spidey senses of security forces to go a little bit crazy? Now, let me ask this bright, brilliant woman. I'm sure she's a real smart woman because she's a Democrat, right? She's a real smart fella. She's up there and she says, we didn't create any chaos. Let's see, ma'am, if you would have knocked on the door of the facility and said, hello, we're a member of Congress, would like a tour, they might have been able to accommodate you. But when you follow in behind an open gate, behind a bus, that is carrying people that are members of MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, and then you want to pretend that you didn't cause any chaos, it shows that not only are you dishonest, you're an absolute idiot. And I think what you have there on the CNN panel is an absolute idiot alert. The ICE is doubling down again this morning and says more arrests are going to be coming as they pull out the surveillance videos. The low-hanging fruit was the mayor there that they arrested. And now I look forward to some other members of Congress being perp-walked. Again, you don't have to like the detentions. You don't have to like the deportations, but it does not give you the right to trespass. You know what? The last time the Democrats got very upset when average members of America decided to what they call trespass on the U.S. Capitol. Matter of fact, they called it an insurrection. Is it not safe to say that these Democrats that showed up at the New Jersey ICE facility have created an insurrection? Are these people now insurrectionists by their own definition? of forcing themselves into a place that they're not welcome, whether they're armed or unarmed, and causing the scene that they caused. The Democrats have engaged in an insurrection according to their own definition. So all of you sanctimonious people out there that always think that always want to go back to January the 6th, let's go back to this weekend, when at an ICE facility, the Democrats did an insurrection. Now, other than the kind of hot mess media clips that you see there, what's interesting is they finally let some of these members of Congress go into the detention center. And all of them came back and said, yeah, it's pretty nice in there. All of them came back as the keepers of the prison inspection. All of them came out and said, yeah, it looks like they're getting 3 hots and a cot. It's good. It's all right. They're spreading rumors that rats were running around and the toilets were overflowing and people were defecating on the floor and the phones weren't working, nothing. And then they came out and said, yeah, it was all right. Not bad in there. Not bad in there. Better than the slums some of you people represent in Congress. That's probably for sure. So anyway, it's fascinating to watch. Dems gone wild, and decency is something that they do not seem to have in the Democrat Party. And that's a very, very, very sad acknowledgement. Public service announcement. I went over this with producer Chad last week. And I think both him and I are, as parents, have a quandary here because as a parent, any of you know that you have kids, you want to give your child's going to get a vehicle, automobile at some point, whether you make them buy it or whether you provide their first one or what have you. Well, handing down your old car to your teenager. Producer Chad and I talked about this story, and evidently he and I are not good parents, because handing down your old car to your teenager could be a deadly decision. There's a classic move that a lot of parents make when their kids turn 16, but maybe you shouldn't. According to a survey, a study found that giving your teenager your old car isn't the smartest move. And not just because they can't drive stick, it's because it could be a deadly decision. Everybody getting crisis here. Ready? Teens in cars that are more than 5 years old are 19% more likely to die in a fatal car crash. For cars over 15 years old, it jumps to 31% more likely. It's because new drivers suck at it for a while, and new cars have a lot more safety features like side airbags and emergency braking. So, according to the survey, giving your kid your old car is like you see happens all the time, might not be the best idea. Let me ask you a question. When you hear a story like this, that the age-old tradition of kind of your kid gets the hand-me-down car and your kid gets the beater and your kid gets the used car that he's probably going to spill some things in, she's going to spill some things in, run over some curbs and bump a few fenders, and you're just going to pray for long-term safety. When you hear this story here, that you need to be getting your teenager a newer car to lessen the likelihood of fatalities during an accident, does that cause any of you to go, oh, wow, that's a great point? Or does it cause all of you to do what producer Chad and I and scoff at it and say, all the more reason that they better drive very, very safe. So anyway, there's that story out there. All right, coming up on the program in just a bit, we're talking about this executive order that Donald Trump is signing this morning about lowering the cost of drugs out there. He tried a similar executive order in his first term, was struck down by the courts. He's trying it again this morning. And Tim Keller is going to be on the program a little bit later. We'll talk about that. He has a great organization that watches healthcare prices, especially in the world of diabetes. And we will talk with him about that here in just a moment. Donald Trump is traveling to the Middle East, supposedly going to meet with the Saudis and going to meet with Israel. And yesterday, out of nowhere, now it hasn't happened yet, that Hamas came out and said, oh, that last remaining hostage that we have that's an American, that the Democrats don't seem to go over to Hamas and check on the status of that American citizen, do they? They always want to go see the Tren de Aragua guys. They always want to go see the MS-13 guys in prison. They want to go to El Salvador. Have any of these Democrats gone to check on the welfare or the well-being of at least the one known living American that's in Hamas captivity? That's a real American. He's like got paperwork and everything. And yet Democrats don't seem to go check on the American citizen being held by the terrorist people, Hamas. They don't seem to care about that. But you let him, if this guy identified in Hamas prison as an MS-13 gang member, I wonder if the Democrats would give a rat's ass then. They might. They just might pretend that they cared about him. Well, all that being said, Donald Trump's heading to Saudi Arabia and Israel. And yesterday, out of nowhere, Hamas said, hey, you know that guy we've been holding that we said we were going to let him out in jail and captivity in March? You know that American citizen that has been held in captivity that Joe Biden never mentioned? You know, that guy, he had his 20th and 21st birthday in a Hamas jail, probably being tortured, and all the bad things that these terrorist monsters do to people. Well, we're going to let him go. And we're going to let him go on the very day that Donald Trump's heading over to Saudi Arabia and Israel in the Middle East. And he keeps saying he's got a very, very, very big announcement. I'm not sure what the big announcement is. A matter of fact, yesterday when Donald Trump put out a truth on Truth Social, he said the very next thing I push is going to be one of the truth out there is going to be one of the largest announcements I've ever made on Truth Social, one of the biggest announcements ever. And I've read what's come out since, and I don't think it's the biggest announcement ever, but supposedly we're being set up to we're supposed to have some very big anticipatory moments with Donald Trump and his Truth Social account. Keep a sharp eye on that. This week, another thing that's happening is the SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, is going to hear the birthright citizenship case in which Donald Trump has declared an end via executive order. And he's decided that we're not going to have this birthright citizenship anymore. And the Supreme Court has agreed to hear it, and they will be contemplating that this week. And it's going to be very interesting to watch. We'll talk more about this later in the week, try to get some legal minds on this, because this is big. My opinion is that we have these anchor babies or birthright citizenship that if you just have a foot here in the United States of America and you drop a baby for whatever reason, that baby is now considered a U.S. citizen forever. And I have a disagreement with that philosophy that's what our founders intended. The birthright citizenship amendment and the law that surrounds that was all about the slaves that had been held during the Civil War. There was a different set of circumstances, and this birthright citizenship in modern day has never been adjudicated to the Supreme Court, and this is going to be a very, very interesting case that's going to be heard. Now, you can bet that Ketanji Jackson Brown, or Brown Jackson, whatever her name is, Ketanji, not to be confused with her sister Jumanji, I can't say that. Ketanji, and then Elena Kagan, and Sotomayor. You know that they're probably hell-bent on stupidity. Now, the key's going to be Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts. I think those are the two on the court that you have to know about. Amy Coney Barrett, for many people, she has been a little bit more disappointing than, not David Souter level disappointing, but she has been somewhat disappointing, siding with the women on the Supreme Court, the liberal women, oftentimes in cases that you scratch your head and say, wait, what is Amy Coney Barrett thinking? So that's going to be a key one to watch, but that's going to be a great case. And I think we'll get some legal scholars on the program this week, because I think it's fascinating that we're finally going to get some Supreme Court adjudication of what it meant with the birthright citizenship and the Constitution, and put it in perspective of how it was intended at the time. And if you read the paperwork and the law and the rulings at lower courts at the time, that it was not meant for people to just invade our country and show up here and start dropping babies and say, oh, look, my kid's a U.S. citizen. That was not what it was intended to do. And the Supreme Court has never heard it in modern times. So we're going to watch this case. We're going to hear it at the Supreme Court this week. And I think that's going to be one of the stories of the week. Of course, I don't think we will get a ruling this week, but I think you'll get a good feel for the argument and the constitutionality of it, and watch that one very closely. If you haven't watched the Supreme Court case in a while, I know you can't watch it, but if you haven't read the transcript of it, I think this would be one to watch, because I think there's going to be, if it's argued correctly or argued against correctly, I think it's going to be a great constitutional discussion that needs to happen, that going back to the original intent. A lot of us are originalists, and I've had to explain this to youngsters before. How I view the Constitution, I'm an originalist. What was the original intent when they did it? When they wrote the amendment that did this, or the amendment that, what was the original intent? What did it accomplish? And outside of that, I don't want to read into it. And sometimes you have to regroup, and circumstances have changed. And let's see if that amendment is still as pertinent today, now that the situation has changed. But as an originalist, I hope that they get rid of what we know as birthright citizenship. I hope that would be a very Very, very wonderful thing to get rid of. And it would change the scope of America. It would change the scope. All right, some people are hearing this story about the pass-me-down, hand-me-down cars, and they're questioning who funded that research. Well, I got the story out of Newsweek, so I'll have to look and do the source beyond Newsweek. But yeah, it's the story that according to the study, it's safer to give your kid the newer car and less likely for them to die. Yeah, they would say that according to the survey, trade the old one for something that rolled off the production line after 2020. Okay, it's 2025, right? I'm a grown-ass man. And I don't drive a car that was rolled off the production line after 2020. I'm not one of these guys that I don't really care what I drive. I drove my last car until I had 300,000 miles on it, and I wept when I sold it. I was like, my car's gone. It went away. I drove the car before that to almost 400,000 miles. I don't trade cars just to show off. Not necessarily a car guy. I don't really care what I drive for the most part. I mean, I obviously want something to be safe, and I wanted to get me to point A to point B. And I live in Colorado, so I wanted to handle well on the snow and the ice when it happens. An all-wheel drive is a wonderful thing, but other than that, I'm not a flashy car guy. So I'm laughing, going, it tells me that I should get my son something that rolled off the production line after 2020, and I'm like, the cars that I drive aren't that new. I don't understand. Somebody said, is the car dealers of America, are they the one funding the survey? They say there's a car. It's a garbage if the car is well maintained. Well, what they're arguing is the automatic braking, and they're arguing the side bags and the airbags and the safety features, not the maintenance of the engine. They're arguing that all those safety features will help a little retarded driver be able to drive. To have some safety features because they're bound to crash it. Well, how about we train the drivers better and let them know if you crash this car, you'll die. Maybe cause them to walk a fine line. I don't know. All right. Marvena says, John, I agree with you talking about the car dealers. It's garbage if the car's well maintained. You can have a well maintained car. You can have a Ford Pinto that's well maintained, but it doesn't mean it's a real safe car. But I'm not saying you need to go buy your kid all the latest airbags and the Mercedes technology that's out there on a brand new 2025 Mercedes. I'm not saying that, but the argument is not the maintenance of the car. The ABS, yes, I remember having a private discussion with somebody. ABS has been there, but a lot of the newer cars have auto braking. Have you ever driven one? I drive these rental cars everywhere I go, and I drive the rental cars, and I'm like, oh, it sees things out there. It's automatically stopping. I was with my friend in a G-Wagon, and we were going really fast. Let's just say real fast, a Mercedes G-Wagon, and it started slowing down. He thought the car's braking, and the car actually saw something about a mile ahead, but we were going really fast, and it stopped him. Yeah, and all the beeping again, that confuses me on the rental cars. I get the beep, 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 beep. Someone's pulling up on my side. That's actually saved my ass a couple of times. That probably has saved my ass tonight. And those features haven't been around a long time. But I'm not saying you go get your kid to 2020, but I think we could all say that a lot of the newer cars do have some more safety features that older cars don't. It doesn't mean I need to go buy my kid that, but I can admit the safety features have gotten better, and there are newer safety features that are out there that are pretty good on some cars that I think they're cool. It doesn't mean I'm going to have them for myself or go buy a car. That's just me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to pause here for just a second. If you have not registered for this Saturday's casino night, we extended the cheap seats, I think, through today. I believe through today. We extended the cheap seats. The price is going to go up. And matter of fact, we're going to have a count coming up here in just a minute. And we may, depending on the counts, how they go, we may shut the thing down altogether in just a few minutes. Shut the counts down. So if you want to go, you're planning to get a table, now is the time for you to do that. If you're planning to register, now is the time for you to do that. If you don't do it today, we're going to get our counts in here in just a minute. There's going to be some conversation here with the Omni Interlochen, and we're going to figure out exactly what kind of foods we're serving and how much we're going to do, and we'll figure out. So I'm telling you, we're down to the wire. And if you have not if you've not purchased a ticket to our Rivers Promise Casino Gala, May the 17th at 7 p.m., that's this Saturday, you're missing out on something, and you're not one of the cool kids. As a matter of fact, you're just an idiot. No, I love you. I love you all. If you haven't registered, I hope you will. And here's another thing. If you have not registered, I'm going to challenge you to do something. Our fundraising goal for the night is quite large, and it's quite aggressive. And we're going to count the fundraising goal for the week. So this week, if you're not planning to attend our casino gala on Saturday, would you consider donating the price of a ticket? Just consider donating the price of a ticket, and let's go from there. It's look at the price of a ticket. Do whatever you can. Our goal is to, in the course of the month, with the casino gala as a catalyst, to raise about $50,000 for a charity. That will get us through the operational cost that we need for the rest of this year. Operations, we need to start focusing through our charity. It's a long story on CapEx. We have a matching gift for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. We need to raise that to match the CapEx, but I got to get the OpEx under control first. So if you can help us out, my friends, I would appreciate it so much. Make a donation or just register. So if you haven't registered, go right now, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. Right at the top of that page, you're going to see, click here to see our latest events, and the latest events are going to be phenomenal. You'll see the casino gala, the golf tournament is going to be listed here in the next couple of weeks. That comes up in September, but it's riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. Last week, I was at the Omni Interlaken Hotel. It was a cold, rainy Colorado day. Producer Chad and I showed up there, and I gave you an invitation from the premises of where the event will be. Roll the tape. Lakey with Rivers Promise, and in just a few days, as a matter of fact, right now, just over a week, this room behind me will be filled with frolicking and festivities and casino games and Frank Sinatra. There's another F. Come join us for our annual casino gala. It's May the 17th, Saturday, right here at the Omni Interlaken Hotel and Resort, Broomfield, Colorado. You can register at riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. Get registered, and I'll see you on May the 17th. There you have it, May 17th. I want to see you there, and if I don't see you this Saturday, it's going to break my heart. It'll break my achy, breaky heart. I don't think my heart will understand. So please get registered, riverspromise.org. It's a fun night. It's just all casino fun. It's going to be a good night of conversation together, meeting new friends. Food, there's going to be some great food. I mentioned the menu items we're finalizing here this morning. We've got the food. We've got a cash bar so you can have some drinks. I believe that there's still rooms available. We had a big room block set aside. And I think when you register, you get a link and you can see if there's still rooms available if you just want to stay the night. And that room rate is actually good for a couple of days before and after. So if you wanted to make a little mini vacation out of it, you could do that. It's going to be a great night. It's this Saturday, and this is the last week you have to hear me talk about it. And then very soon I'll start talking about my golf tournament. That comes up in May. It'll be here before you know it. But make sure you get registered. Casino Gala. We do two through our charity, two big public fundraisers a year. And this is the annual casino gala, although last year we had to skip it because of a venue conflict. So we call it annual, but we're kind of starting over again this year at a brand new venue. We hope you'll make it. Get your tickets. You got to have a ticket, okay? The security at the hotel, if you're just stalking and grouping and protesting out front, you still don't get to come in. Nope, you got to have a ticket to get there. So you get your ticket. Riverspromise.org, and I know the price is supposed to go up today. But depends on the counts and where we're at. The tickets could go bye-bye today. It just got to get a total count of where we're at and just look at it. So get your ticket right now. And if you do get it right now, the ticket's still on sale tomorrow. At least you know tomorrow you would have spent more money. All right? It still goes to charity, but I'm still trying to save you a couple of bucks. Riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. All right, what else do we have in the news here today? A lot of discussion. No, I'm not going to go out and buy my No, I haven't driven I don't have a car that's 2020 or newer. But I will say there's some safety features in these new cars that I think are fantastic. And if I want to spend $50,000 to buy my 20-year-old a $60,000, $70,000 car, yeah, he's going to get some better safety features. But I think it's kind of like, is it safer to ride a bicycle with a helmet? Probably. But did most of us survive growing up riding our Huffies and our Schwinn's and our Mongoose bicycles? Did most of us survive the fact that we didn't wear a helmet? Yeah, we all survived. So yes, there's studies like this that say it's safer for your kid to drive a 2020 or after car. Sure it is. It's also safer for them to wear a helmet on a bike. But a lot of us survived drinking out of hoses and not wearing helmets on a bike. And a lot of us have survived driving old clunkers. One of the cars that I drove, it wasn't technically mine. It was my dad's. It was a 67 Chevy pickup truck that was, the engine ran great. It still had the wooden bed in the back. And so the wooden bed had mostly rotted out. So it wasn't much function in the back. He always intended to get it redone, but he never did. It was mainly when he worked in the oil fields. He had a trailer that he'd sometimes take out there and stay for a week at a time. And that's all he used it for, to drive it out the oil fields, because he was in the oil and gas industry for a period of time. And he'd stay out there and have a place to stay locally. So anyway, that West Texas or something like that. So yeah, we had a trailer, and that was his trailer hauler, and it was ugly. And I you know what, I tell you a great high school story. I would drive that to high school, and we called it the farm truck. And no, it wasn't the sexiest car, but it had a lot of personality. And it had a CB radio in it that for some reason we had wired it up to where there was a speaker under the hood. So not the CB radio. I would use the CB radio to talk to people. And so remember the old commercial, "Hey, good looking, be back to pick you up later," like Mr. Microphone. I had a real live Mr. Microphone in a 1967 pickup truck. Did I have a gun rack? Sorry, I didn't hit the cough button. Actually, it kind of did, but that's a whole story. A gun rack. I drove the 67 pickup with a gun rack. I didn't have a gun on it, though. We didn't have a gun on it, but it had the rack, and I had a gun once or twice, maybe a 22 up there. You had to go hunting sometimes. Anyway, so it was it might have had a shotgun or two up there at times. I'm just saying, you could take them to school. There's a shooting club at school, okay? Don't judge us. We didn't shoot up schools like these Ritalin addicted pharmaceutical addicts out there that have psychological issues. We didn't do that kind of stuff. Yeah, I drove that, but I would drive around. And, I could talk like Mr. Microphone. I could just talk to everybody, and I could do that. And I'd never forget. No joke. This is I probably should be ashamed. But even immigration's always been a story, right? And all of us who follow politics, and even as a kid, immigration. So I'd be a 17-year-old. And I would sometimes, and this is mean and unusual, and I apologize and I repent before Almighty God, but I have to say there were a couple of times that we would zip in real fast to where certain people were at, janitors and stuff, and we would say, immigration, in the speaker. It was not nice. I understand that. We were 17, okay? Don't judge us. We were 16 or 17. We did that. Yeah, we did that indeed. All right. Good to have you here on the show, and nice to have all of you out there. A lot of fodder out there discussing the Newsweek story says the two most important features are the added side bags in these newer cars, and also the emergency braking. That emergency braking is freaky. If you've ever been driving with one of these cars that auto brakes for you, it's weird. All of a sudden you think the car is shutting down, but the car is sensing something that you didn't know was there. Cody jumps in here, says, "Good morning, Jimmy Jam and DJ Chad." What do we become, a hipster rock, a hip hop rock show here? Remember, I always did say that I was going to be when I was contemplating the big career move back when D-Rake, some of you call him Drake, I call him D-Rake, was wanting me to go on tour because I'm such a hip hopper. I decided my act was going to be, I was going to be hedge fund, and my son was going to be trust fund. I thought that was a great hip hop moniker. So if you ever find any of my music out there, look up for hedge fund. And my son was trust fund, and we didn't ever make the Drake tour though. We decided we didn't want to overshadow Drake, so we never went out with him. Just never ever did the Drake thing. I apologize. We should have done the Drake thing. Later on this week, I'm going to have Sherry Cree on the program. Sherry Cree, Ascendant Real Estate. She's going to be on the show with me later on the weekend. We're going to talk about a couple of things. We can talk so many things to talk about with her. I've said that she practices ninja sales techniques, ninja sales, but she practices them for real estate. The whole book on ninja techniques. One of the interesting things that I was texting with her last night is the art of pricing. Getting the right price on a home to where you get enough interest, but also don't surrender too much. It's an art, and we're going to talk with Sherry later this week about the art of pricing, and then we're also going to talk about the art of negotiation. How there's a way to negotiate on a house, and I've got several people that I know in the real estate industry, and there's times that they're like, "Oh yeah," there's people that are horrible to negotiate with. They don't know how. It should, but there's an art to it, and we're going to talk about those arts with Sherry later this week. Listen, if you're looking to sell a home, buy a home, now's the time to do it. You need to get in touch with Sherry, talk with her. Maybe you've been sensing that is it the right time to buy? Is it the right time to sell? Maybe you're not in any pressure, but you've been wanting to make a transition. Or maybe you are under pressure. Maybe you need to move quick or buy quick. Whatever the case may be, talk with Sherry, homeswithsherry.com, and have a conversation. And if you're looking at first-time home buyer, listen, she wants to work so hard for you as a first-time home buyer or a second-time home buyer that she becomes your realtor for life. And that's what's happened in her life is that some people just become they call her up every few years, or the kids call her up and say, hey, you sold mom's house and dad's house, and I want you to be a part of my house as well. And so make sure that you get signed up, not signed up, but go to her website, homeswithsherry.com, and have that consultation. And again, whether you're in Windsor or Wellington or Fort Collins or Fort Lupton, or maybe you're down in Castle Rock or Parker, if you're in Broomfield or Boulder, that Interstate 25 corridor in Colorado, homeswithsherry.com, love to have you get in touch with her and have a conversation with her and let her help you make your real estate dreams come true. All right. That's what you got to do. Let her make the real estate dreams come true. All right. We're expecting the arrival any moment now, although it seems as if he is late. Mr. Tim Keller is supposed to be here. I'm just getting a message from his publicist now. Tim Keller's trying to get in the green room. I don't see him there. Producer Chad, I don't know if you see him either. He's missing. We're missing him immensely. This is live. I don't know why I'm typing this here. Yeah, I don't see him. Tim Keller. We're waiting for Tim Keller. We're going to talk about the rising prices that are out there in the pharmaceutical world and what President Trump is doing to assuage those with an executive order cutting drug prices. The details of the executive order are still forthcoming, but the gist of it is that he says whatever these pharmaceutical companies are selling to Europe and these socialist countries, they should sell to America. America should not get charged higher prices for pharmaceuticals. Whatever you're selling on the global market is what you should sell to America too, so as a pharmaceutical. So that's an executive order cutting prices today. You know, one thing, we watch these executive orders, and I know we talked on the program about the need for Congress or the Senate and the U.S. House to codify or pass this into law. Did you know right now the U.S. Senate had the opportunity, with Republicans in charge, to codify the changes or the cuts that Doge and Elon Musk have found, just to put those in the budget. And the U.S. Senate, with a lot of Republicans standing there, are blocking that from happening. The U.S. Senate, Republicans are actually blocking, with the Democrats, making any permanent change in the spending structure of America, even though some waste, fraud, and abuse was found even though the waste, fraud, and abuse has been found by Doge, Elon Musk, and his team, the Senate is blocking so far any long-term permanent cuts in spending. That's scary, and I think it's going to be fun to watch what happens to a lot of these U.S. senators. It's like Tom Tillis from North Carolina that blocked the guy that Donald Trump wanted to be a federal prosecutor. And Tom Tillis said, I didn't like the way that, as a Republican, he didn't like the way that this guy was on the defense team for some January the 6th insurrectionist. Well, Tom Tillis, I think, is going to have his butt handed to him, possibly in the next primary election there in the Carolinas. We will see about that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, President Trump is signing an executive order, supposedly going to lower the cost of pharmaceuticals. We will see how it works out. And there we go. It says, sorry, I'm getting messages from, no, Tim's here. I see he just popped into the green room just a moment ago. Just popped into the green room. There we go. He's there now. All right, let me bring in Tim Keller and now and tell you exactly who he is. Let me pull this up. He's a healthcare and lifestyle analyst, founder of U.S. Diabetes Care, mission-driven health education company focused on ending the diabetes epidemic in America, not by prescribing more medications, but by teaching people how to reverse their condition through proven science-based lifestyle medicine. Tim Keller is in the green room. We bring him on the stage now in the House of Lakey. Tim, welcome in, sir.
Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing very, very, very well. We'll get into what your organization does in reversing and stopping the epidemic of diabetes. But President Trump is signing an executive order this morning that he thinks is going to lower the cost of pharmaceuticals. The best that I understand is he's basically telling the pharma companies, hey, whatever you sell this to the big countries in Europe, you got to sell the same price to us. You can't jack up the price. What do we know about this executive order, and how real of a deal is it that our pharmaceutical prices are a heck of a lot more expensive here in America than other places, even in Europe?
Well, there's a couple things that are going on with that. I saw the executive order yesterday that is going to be passed. I have a lot of thoughts around that. I mean, you can knock off the top end of the drug 30 to 80%. That's not really going to fix the total problem. Number one, big pharma, I guarantee you, will increase the price, whether they're gouging or not. But there's a bigger problem that goes with the medicine than just a 30, 80% discount. I mean, we're dealing with the insurance companies and pharmacy benefit managers, right? So I'll give you an example. Say a diabetic from my center, Dr. Castro writes that diabetic a Jardiance, which is like one of the most popular drugs outright for diabetes. That's the relationship between the patient and our doctor. So obviously that doctor should be the expert, right? So the patient will go to the pharmacy and try to pick up their Jardiance. The pharmacy benefit manager will come back and say, we denied this drug. We will not pay for it. The out-of-pocket cash expense is about $1,100 for a month's supply of Jardiance, which is staggering. Most diabetics, and I will tell you, most people in the United States cannot afford that price. So what they'll do is they'll come back to our center, the patient, and say, pharmacy benefit manager just denied this drug that you wrote me. We spent half of our clinical time doing prior authorizations to the insurance company, fighting on behalf of the patient for the drug. So I think it's not just about, well, we're going to discount the drug. I think it's about the fight of insurance paying for these drugs in general, from the standpoint of the big pharmacy and insurance companies' job is to deny payment. So I think it's a lot bigger than just signing an executive order for a percentage off the drug cost.
The voice, if you're listening later in the day and you're only hearing the audio of it, it's Tim Keller. He's a healthcare and lifestyle analyst, founder of the U.S. Diabetes Care Organization, a health-driven education company helping to find the end of the diabetes epidemic in America. Tim Keller is again my guest. Tim, you mentioned the pharmaceutical companies, and I have this fear that we're too dependent on China. That after the COVID, we saw the supply chain. A lot of our big pharmaceutical companies are in China, and it's not just the supply chain for us; it's a lifeline. Give me your thoughts. Again, I want people to be off drugs as much as possible. I wish we didn't need. Sometimes I think pharmaceutical companies are kind of a problem in and of themselves, but it's really a problem when people that depend on these drugs could be beholden to China if China ever gets a hair in their craw or somewhere and decides not to allow shipping out of there.
Yeah. Well, then I think, honestly, I think that could be a good thing for America, because you look at diabetes again as a whole. And, there's a lot of other disease states out there that rely on, big pharma, but you look at insulin manufacturers, only 3 insulin manufacturers in the world: Eli Lilly, AmerisourceBergen, and Novo Nordisk. Okay. So you got, so they say, well, insulin can't be made by anyone else because the proteins are too difficult to manufacture insulin. So there's no generic. Well, that creates a monopoly of insulin suppliers. And I think that not just insulin, but all the drugs, if we can go back to America and start manufacturing generic brands of these drugs, we're going to see a huge savings and not rely on China.
Again, the voice of Tim Keller. At which point, it's always amazing to me that you have those patents and those trademarks that happen, and they run out after a certain time, 10 years, 20 years, whatever they are. It's always amazing to me that drugs that have been proven in some instances to be very beneficial are always told, oh, that's a conspiracy theorist if you take that, because all of a sudden they're not getting the royalties they were. It's no longer copywritten or patented. I go back to the hydroxychloroquines, the ivermectins out there. A lot of folks aren't sure whether they ever got the real truth on that. All we know is that the pharmaceutical companies were no longer making the royalty off that pill that they used to. So therefore, don't take that. That's conspiracy theory. Forget it. We lost our patent. Now you got to take this one.
That's exactly what happened. So, most drugs have about a 10-year shelf life as far as the patent's concerned. As soon as that patent runs off, the generic manufacturers come in and make the same drug for a lot less. That's where your big, blockbuster stores like Walmart and Sam's Club and Costco's can sell these drugs at, pennies on the dollar cost, put the savings back to the consumer. And then what will happen, Big Pharma will just make another drug that's similar, change the patent and say this is the better drug to take. And then they have the one up because they have the pharmaceutical reps out there promoting the drugs.
Yeah. Again, the voice of Tim Keller. Tim, let's talk about your organization and what you do. You are again, go in the bio, you're a healthcare and lifestyle analyst, founder of U.S. Diabetes Care, a health education company focused on ending the diabetes epidemic in America, and not by prescribing more medications, but by teaching people how to reverse their condition through proven science-based lifestyle to medicine. Talk about what your organization does and the reversal that might be possible.
Yeah, so U.S. Diabetes Care, as you just mentioned, is a lifestyle medicine focus. We actually we have a internist medical doctor who has a secondary degree from Loma Linda, the Blue Zone in lifestyle medicine. So what we've done with some research or R&D over the years of using lifestyle medicine, we've actually been able to educate patients about the truth about diabetes and, from that education, allow them to make lifestyle changes that reverse diabetes. When I say that, and I mean reverse, completely gone, people try to say remission of diabetes. I said that's false. I mean, you can actually reverse type 2, type 3, vascular dementia, diabetes. Now, type 1 is an autoimmune condition. I've had a couple people come back to me and say, I have to remember to mention that. Obviously, type 1, we can get people using tighter measures of their diabetes or insulin, but we can't reverse their symptom because it is an autoimmune condition. But anything that's the other side of diabetes, we can absolutely reverse those conditions with lifestyle medicine. I always say people, you got to fix people in the mind to be able to fix and heal their body.
Let's talk about the type 2, type 3 diabetes. Is there a silver thread of continuity that weaves together everybody that comes in and says, oh, wow, this is the one change that pretty much consistently across the board people need to make if they're looking for that reversal of that type 2 or type 3? Is there one or two things that is pretty much something everybody should change? Yeah,
so the reality comes down to, when let's talk about type 2, type 3, okay, it's really insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is the precursor for all disease states. So when someone has high blood pressure, lipidemia, cholesterol issues, brain fog, all this is insulin resistance of the body. So type 2 and type 3 is just a symptom of insulin resistance. So the key is to get insulin resistance reversed in the body. The way to do that is through, lifestyle medicine, and the lifestyle medicine side is real simple: exercise and eat whole foods. We're not telling people to, stop everything they love doing, but for majority, if they want to make lifestyle changes, that means, eating right, exercising, drinking a lot of water, hydration, eating a lot of fiber. And these are all things that we teach people. And you know what? It's not about just what you put in your mouth. Diabetes is directly affected by environmental pressures, anxiety, stress, oxidative stress. These things all affect diabetes as well. So we kind of, help people along those ways as well. Dealing with their stress, dealing with their anxiety, dealing with oxidative stress of the body, these things that also affect insulin resistance and diabetes.
Again, the voice of Tim Keller. So eat whole foods, get plenty of exercise. Simple as that. Let me ask you, are you excited? You're trying to kind of teach lifestyle changes that can make big changes and not become reliant on the pharmaceutical companies. When a guy like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. comes in and says, hey, we're too reliant on big pharma, and there's some lifestyle things we could do to, quote, make America healthy again. Does that light your fire, Tim Keller?
It's not only lit my fire. I'm so excited someone's finally come along the path of what we're talking about and doing with U.S. Diabetes Care. I feel like we've been on an island journey for the last 9 years, like the only ones that are really trying to make a difference with diabetes through lifestyle and exercise. Because I feel like, the westernized system's broken. I feel like doctors are treating symptoms, not a patient. And, they've been trained that way to write scripts, and everybody's going around taking the easy fix and the pill. And no one's really focusing on, God put everything on this earth to heal us kind of mentality. And, really getting back to, the basics of life. And that's, moving and eating right.
If somebody wants to learn more about U.S. diabetes care, where do they go, sir?
Yes, they can go to usdiabetescare.com. There's a learn more tab that they can go to the landing page and learn all about our education app and download the app. It's $99.99 a year. I tell everybody that's very cheap to change your life.
usdiabetescare.com. There's an app you can subscribe to. Folks, get on the app, kind of give us an education on the app so that you can, from the horse's mouth, sir, what does it do?
The app basically, in 100%, gives you the truth about diabetes, the truth about disease state, and really the truth about how everybody can, metabolically fix insulin resistance to take away disease states from the body.
How much of this is, obviously, you and I agree, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. agrees. Big Pharma oftentimes has their own agenda. It's called profit and money, and they have the patents and forget all this other stuff. How much of a problem do we have with actually the medical doctors? I was watching some of the confirmation hearing of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and one guy was a Republican who has a background in the medical world, and he was problematic. I mean, I'm like, he's a medical doctor. He should be open to new science, but he was reading the talking points from the big pharma companies. How much of a problem? We know the problem of pharma. We know what you and I, RFK Jr., agree on. How much problem do we have with doctors that are just have been indoctrinated and I guess have drank the Kool-Aid, and all this stuff doesn't seem to register with them?
Okay, so that's a loaded gun, but I'll tell you the truth. Doctors were westernized trained starting in the 1950s. Big Pharma came in a big medical, said, what's your biggest expense? They said, our residence training program. Big Pharma said, no problem, we got you. They train all doctors to treat a symptom, not a patient. There's only 8 hours of education, nutrition training in medical school. That's it, 8 hours. Most doctors that come out and practice nowadays, they're treating a symptom, not a patient. And so you and I could go to the doctor right now and make up 7 crazy things out of our head, just to throw them out there, and we'll walk out with 10 medications. The truth is no one's treating a patient anymore. No one's really getting down to the bottom line of what their base problems are. It's just like, hey, a drug fixes everything. And that's the problem with westernized medicine, and that's why the U.S. is the sickest nation in the world, because we don't have a good healthcare system. It's very broken.
Yeah. And I know that folks don't want to hear that, but we do have a very screwed up healthcare system. Chronic diseases are rampant. I mean, you just go through the whole list of them. RFK Jr.'s at least highlighted those, and hopefully people are waking up. Tim Keller, again, it's usdiabetescare.com, correct?
Correct.
Glad to have you back on. I enjoyed the conversation, and glad we finally got connected. Glad it all worked out. Tim Keller, usdiabetescare.com. Go check that out, usdiabetescare.com. All right, while I've been yapping here this morning, I have to ask you this question. Have you registered yet for that casino gala? It's coming up Saturday. And if you haven't registered, I don't know what your problem is. You got to get there. It's going to be fun. But the Omni Interlaken Hotel, benefiting our charity, Rivers Promise. And also, as you contemplate, maybe you can't attend this Saturday for the big casino gala. Omni Hotel in Colorado. Fly in if you must. It's going to be a great time. All for fun. There's a poker tournament edge to it, and it's all for fun. No real wagering. It's all just charitable fundraising. That's all it is. Don't panic. But I have to tell you this. If you're contemplating, I can't go, Lakey, but I want to make a donation. I want to be a part of the solution. I want to help you reach your fundraising goal. And I told you we have an aggressive goal this month from fundraising time that I'd like to raise $50,000 for our OPEX, operation expenses. OPEX is where we feed the kids. OPEX is where we get them to school. OPEX is our daily operational cost. We have no U.S.-based salaries. Don't worry about that. We have teachers and things like that in Rwanda, but they're not U.S.-based costs. They're Rwandan-based costs. But our OPEX is feeding the kids, providing their health care, their insurance, all the stuff that they get. Costs us $30 to feed a kid twice a day for 1 month. So basically $1 a day, they get 2 meals a day. So if you're going to help us reach that $50,000 OPEX budget goal, Do the math. How many meals could you provide, or how many children could you feed for a month? Could you do 10 children for a month? That's $3,000. Could you do, you get the idea. You get the idea. No, that's $300, or 10's $300. 100 is 3,000. You get the idea. Do the math. If you want to do the math another way, you could just do the cost of the ticket. That's going to help us do the math on how you're going to help. But if you want to put a real tangible effect, $65 is what it costs to not just feed the kid a month, but also provide their education, their health insurance, their uniforms, and the basic life amenities that they get. That's $65. So if we're trying to raise in our OPEX expenses $50,000 around this casino gala, how many $65 donations could you make? In other words, how many kids could you help for a month? I'd ask you to help us out if you could and make a donation. I'd love for you to be at the event, and then you can donate that night. There's going to be some silent auction items. There's not a heavy twisting of the arms. There's not a sermon and a bow your head and fill out the pledge card. We're not doing any of that kind of stuff. There will be a chance to donate, but it's all about fun on the 17th. But it's also a chance that if you're there the 17th, we can talk about it. There's going to be people that sponsored children for years. You can talk to them and find out the impact they've made. It's just going to be a fun night. It's all about fun on the 17th. But if you can help us and you can't attend, make a donation, riverspromise.com or riverspromise.org. But there's still time to register, at least for the next couple of hours. At least you can get registered for it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the stolen memes section of the show. Which way we do this? We pull the globe out and we go round and round the globe. We go where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Looks like this is coming from South America. I just looked at the map. I heard someone call a corn dog a meat Twinkie, and life just feels different now. A meat Twinkie. All right. That caught me off guard, and I was in the middle of coughing. Meat Twinkie. I'm going to use that. Round around the globe we go where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Liberals look for reasons to be annoyed, and I look for ways to annoy them. It's a team effort. My buddy Roger has a coffee cup that says, I drink the tears of my, I drink liberal tears or something like that. Yeah, you liberals out there looking for a reason to be annoyed. I'm looking for ways to annoy you, just so you know. You destroyed America, so I don't mind messing with you. Ready? Round around the globe we go where we steal the memes from. No one knows. This is from the Babylon Bee. Bernie Sanders, about Bernie Sanders there, says, hero. Bernie Sanders buys another house to make sure the rich people don't get all of them. He's fighting the oligarch. What's that, like 5 homes for him? You know, he sort of his collection of homes when Hillary Clinton chased him out. He was going to win the Democrat primary, but it was Hillary's turn, and old Kankles bought him off. Bernie Sanders has the principles of, he has none. He has no principles. Bernie Sanders is an oligarch that can be bought, and but he wants to fight the oligarchy. That's what he wants to do. I don't know how many memes we have out there, but let's try it again. Round around the globe we go where we steal the memes from. No one knows. This is beautiful. This is glorious. It's a picture of 4 bucks. If you're listening to the audio, you have Snow White. That would be there's Snow White. There's the astronaut. There's your next president. There's a hero. This is how you got to see this video. We'll put this on Facebook. This is how the Democrats view the world. There's Gail up there as the astronaut. She's not. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the next president, and do you get the idea? There's the hero, that Maryland dad. Hey, Dems, what happened to that Maryland dad? You guys got to shut up about him, didn't you? That Maryland dad, they did shut up about him. Do we have any more? Round around the globe we go where we steal the memes from. No one knows. There are 3 types of people. There's Donald Trump, those who make things happen. And there's old Bernie Sanders, those who take from those who make things happen. And then there's Joe Biden, who doesn't know what's happening. That's another 3 types of people in politics. Donald Trump making it happen, Bernie Sanders taking from those that make it happen, and old Joe Biden wondered who crapped his pants. That's what happened. By the way, you the Democrats very upset with him for making that appearance on The View. Even David Brooks from the New York Times is like, he needs to just retire and let history be the judge. Get out of here. Joe's out there trying to fight for his honor. Knows that the truth is coming out about his corruption and the deceit that happened. And he's out there fighting for his honor, climbing the water tower of television at The View with a spray paint can to erase the nasty things they're writing about him. And it didn't go over very well. The Democrats even are criticizing that trip on The View. All right, look at there, ladies and gentlemen. I just saw my title for the day. I'm the Baron of Banter. Not to be mistaken with Baron Trump. He's 9 inches taller than me, so I not him, but Baron of Banter. You're welcome. All right, do we have any more memes? Stolen memes around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. We have milked the meme machine dry. Thanks to our sponsors, everybody. Sherry Cree, thank you very much. Corey Clinton, we appreciate you. God bless you. Our good friends at Lehman Lewis Financial Group. Lehman Lewis not going to be able to make the casino night. One of their sons is having a big party, a birthday party, and he's not going to make it. They priorities. Families above gambling. I get it. Kind of. I'm disappointed in them. No, I don't. They have great kids. They have 2 great sons. I had Thanksgiving dinner with Lehman Lewis, and let's just say this. I was chased out of the house by their 11 or 12-year-old. My son and I made a run for it out to the car to head home as we were in a whip. What is it whipped cream? The cool whip, the whipped cream in the spray bottle. Yeah, we were having a fight with that, and the 11-year-old, 12-year-old was chasing us, and yeah, we got in the car and made a run for it. It's fun. They're fun people, but I'm not going to that. I'm not going to that. They're having a party, pizza sleepover, some birthday party, and we're going to be gambling. Anyway, we're going to miss them. Lehman Lewis, we miss you. I miss them. A Baron of Banter. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you listening later in the day, I apologize. Our Twitter feed has been down today. We will have that rectified, and don't forget, always have a backup on where you can listen to the program, because if you miss it, if Twitter feed was down, and Rumble has also been down today. Not our fault. It's the feeds out there. So always know a backup of where you can go back and listen to the program later, watch the program later. And by the way, in just a matter of moments, the audio version of this show will be up on the podcast platforms. It'll be up at iHeart, Spotify, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You get it. Podbean as well. Go get registered, my friends. Time is ticking. We're going to have a great night on Saturday. And I hope all of you have FOMO, fear of missing out. You don't want to miss out on this. It's and all the proceeds go to charity. It's a great thing. Tax deductible. See you Saturday night. In the meantime, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Good Lord willing, the creek still rise, and the Twitter and everybody who works tomorrow. We'll be back on all the platforms. May God bless you. May God bless America. I'm Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here. See if things work tomorrow. I hope they